All right, friends, it's T-Man, and I'm back with, I guess it's like a question something video, because I keep getting the same thing from some minions, and this is not for the people on my channels, this is the outside people, these minions, they come from these channels, they just don't seemingly understand nothing. They're so like out in the dark, and I'm the crazy one, but they're the smart one, being a lifting slave, right? So you're a lifting slave, you're smarter than me, and me, who's not a lifting slave, I'm retarded. Is that it? Okay, whatever. Look, man, I explained this one more time in this video. The driver of hypertrophy is protein synthesis needs to exceed this breakdown. But the driver of hyperplasia and muscle growth is driven by muscle damage. Okay, and I can prove it. I can prove it. I can prove it. In this section right here, as you see here, they always put it at the top. When you go into Google, they put it at the top, okay? It's under physiology, whatever. Pathophysiology of exercise-induced muscle damage and structural whatever. There's a section down here at the bottom. I posted it here. You can go and read it, okay? But this just a small section in here. It's inside there. This isn't Google. This is NCBI. If a person is unaccustomed to specific exercise or it is of greater than normal intensity or duration, all forms of exercise can cause damage and pain. However, exercise-induced muscle damage, EIMD, is most often caused by high-intensity eccentric exercise. Now, I'm going to prove it for you. That muscle damage is the driver of hypertrophy, okay, along with the protein synthesis. Protein synthesis, okay? So, nuclei acquired by overload exercise precedes hypertrophy, not a lost on detraining. Remember, you need the progenitor cell to come out, divide, split, divide, increase the number, donate its nuclei to that domain to support further muscle growth. Now I'm going to explain this one more time. Damage is the driver of all hypertrophy. Without any type of damage in your body to your muscles, which it's all damage, but not all damages are the same. All right? But without muscle damage, muscle injury, you're never going to build any muscles. See this graph right here? This is you. You call it newbie gains. This is you. See where it says they're untrained at the bottom there? Look. Take a very good look at that. You see that right there? Untrained, first training in that map. Untrained, first training, satellite cell, fusion. Fusion. What is it fusing to? The damage, the cracks and the domes. And then it hypertrophies. First it hyperplasias, and then those cells, they hypertrophy. You know how they hypertrophy? They hypertrophy when protein synthesis exceeds that breakdown. That's how they hypertrophy. That's how they do it. So untrained muscles, you see that? Untrained muscles first training. But guess what? Guess what happens? It's an adaptation process. It's an adaptation process. Yes. What happens? What happens? It's an adaptation process. What happens? It gets protected, bro. That's what it is. It's an adaptation process. You're not getting any more. You want to see what that is? Here, I'll show you what that is, okay? So you don't get any confusion in your brain. The minions, they don't get confusion in their brains. I'll show it to you. I'll show it to you. Give me a minute. Give me a minute, all right? So see this? Protein synthesis needs to exceed that breakdown in order to see that growth, that hypertrophy. There you go. I don't need to say any more. Now, let's go here. Myonuclear domain size limit. Here's the myonuclear domain size limit. See that? Myonuclear domain size limit. MND size has a ceiling limit during hypertrophic process, beyond which extra myonuclei are donated by satellite cell to do what? To support further muscle growth. To support further muscle growth. So if you're not getting any more of these nuclei donated by the progenitor cell, the satellite cell, to support further muscle growth, what is the driver of hypertrophy? What is the driver of hypertrophy? Nuclei are the driver. Without them, you can't synthesize protein. Do you understand me? They synthesize protein. Without them, you can't further that domain. And how do you get them? You get them when you first came in the gym. You first came in the gym. Untrained first training, satellite cell fusion, hypertrophy. But guess what? When it hypertrophied, it reached a ceiling limit. It reached the ceiling limit. It's beyond. And you call it newbie gains, you call it domain size limit, whatever the fuck, I don't know. Fucking genetic limit and hard gainer and all this bullshit stuff. Okay, bro? So it gets tiring to do this over and over and over again. Now, one person asked me about the adaptation process. He says eccentric exercise doesn't damage muscles. Okay, yeah. So what's that adaptation? What's that adaptation process? What is it? What's that adaptation process, bro? Hey? You want to know what that adaptation process is? Here, this is what it is. This is what it is. No, not this one. It's this one right here. So if eccentric exercise is not really totally involved anymore because you're adapted, you're a chronic lifter, you're coming in the gym, he says, one guy agreed, he says, yes, the eccentric exercise, you're not getting damaged. It's not associated with damage. The eccentric is not concentric when you're doing concentric movements, yes. But he says there's still an adaptation process. Want to know what that adaptation process is? Myocytic androgen receptor controls the strength, but not the mass of the limb muscles. What is that for? Like it says down there, maximum force production. That's what you're doing. You're doing a force production because you're going against gravity. That's why. Everybody knows the down motion is associated with muscle damage. The up motion is associated with chemical strength adaptations. That's what it is. Androgen receptors. The more of them that you get by lifting that weight in adaptations, the heavier you'll be able to lift. So you'll be a little strong guy in the gym. A little guy, a little strong guy. Get it, bro? Yeah. So that's the adaptation process. If you can't understand these things, I think you need to go back to school. You need to go back to school. You definitely need to go back to school, bro. There's a lot more I can say in this video, but it takes forever. I'm going to be pulling out all these things left and right. And then it takes on a secondary shift when you keep coming in the gym, goes to type 1, because there's an adaptation process. There's no more damage, okay? Many mechanisms protect muscles from being damaged, like this, the repeated bout effect. Here. There are numerous mechanisms, I can tell you, that protects it. So, the advancements of understanding the repeated bout effect. The protective effect against what? Muscle damage from a single bout of eccentric exercise. You will think that muscle damage is not the driver of muscle damage, but it is. You need these nuclei. You need a donation of these nuclei to further that domain. You understand me? To hypertrophy those muscles. Without them, you're not going nowhere. You're going at zero, like your coach Blaha and all the rest of these people that are out there. So the repeated bout effect refers to adaptation process. Centric exercise protects muscle against. It's an adaptation process, like it says there. Adaptation process, right there. Adaptation. It's a mechanism. It's an adaptation. Plus, they're resilient from getting busted. They got stronger the first time. It's always like that. It's always like that. You don't have to believe me. Exercise-induced muscle damage idea is perhaps the most commonly cited mechanism for what? Muscle growth. The idea is that intense exercises causes damage to muscle fibers, yes, and unaccustomed whatever, which are then repaired post-workout rather than rebuilding exactly what was there before. The body rebuilds muscles to be what? Bigger and stronger. They rebuild them to be bigger and stronger. Bigger and stronger, bigger and stronger. It's not hard to understand these things, bro. You have to have an open mind. I'll see you in the next one. Tell you to think about that. Like, subscribe, support the channel. Yeah, man. Muscle damage. See you in the next one. Ciao.